Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're really digging into something crucial in communications. How do we stop writing those, well, frankly, boring press releases that just end up in the junk folder? We've got a whole stack of sources here, all focused on using data and statistics properly to turn those announcements from, vague fluff into news people actually want to quote.
And it's not just a nice to have anymore, is it? It's pretty much essential. In today's media world, vague claims just, well, they don't cut it.
Right.
What these sources are telling us is that data isn't just window dressing. It's the actual concrete evidence. It's the professional ammunition a journalist needs to, justify covering your story to their editor.
Without numbers, it's just opinions, basically.
Exactly. Just unsubstantiated statements.
Okay, let's think about the classic failure example. We've all read it. The company achieved significant growth this quarter.
Oh, yeah.
Means nothing.
Zero context, total filler.
But swap that out for something specific, something verifiable like revenue increased 47% year over year. Suddenly you've handed them a headline, a ready-made quote.
Yeah, and a metric they can share. That one change just skyrockets the press release's effectiveness and its credibility, too. You're almost doing part of the journalist's job by giving them these factual hooks.
Okay, so let's build this from the ground up, because everything really hinges on the quality of the data you pick, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
The first big pitfall seems to be using irrelevant data. The number has to directly back up the main point of your announcement. It can't just be some impressive figure you found lying around.
Right, and this is where you, as the communicator, really need to push yourself. Always ask, does this specific number actually prove the claim I'm making right now? So if you're launching a product designed to boost user retention, talking about your overall revenue growth, well, it doesn't really help make that specific case, does it?
No, you need the retention stat.
Exactly. You need the data that shows the product's impact on retention. The link has to be clear and immediate.
Okay, relevance established. Then comes the big one, accuracy. Get one number wrong, one tiny mistake.
And you're done. Credibility, poof, gone.
Yeah.
Accurate stats are like the absolute bedrock of trust. Journalists fact check everything. They have to. And often they're on crazy deadlines.
Right.
So if they spot one incorrect figure, that trust is shattered, not just for that one release, but maybe for everything you send them in the future.
Oh.
So you've got to verify against the original sources and critically make sure the data is current. Using stats from last year when there's fresh data available, that just looks sloppy.
Or worse, like you're hiding something.
Exactly. It suggests poor research or, maybe even intentional misrepresentation.
So if accuracy is so vital, how do we actually show a reporter they can trust our numbers? That leads straight into citing sources, right?
Yes, absolutely. Citing trustworthy sources builds that confidence because the credibility sort of transfers. It rubs off onto your release.
Yeah.
And there's definitely a hierarchy here. You want to prioritize sources like government agencies, regulatory bodies, peer review, academic studies.
Established research firms.
Right. Reputable industry firms, trade associations. And if it's your own internal company data, that's fine, but you absolutely must be clear about the methodology.
Like how many people you surveyed or the time frame.
Precisely. And just as important is what not to cite.
Let me guess. Random blogs.
Definitely avoid random blogs, unverified online polls, sources with a really obvious bias. You know the type. When you do cite, do it properly. Full name of the organization, the actual report title, the publication date.
Like, according to a 2024 study by the Pew Research Center.
Perfect. And for digital releases, include those hyperlinks. Make it easy for them to check. It shows you're confident, and it saves them precious time.
Okay, so we've got relevant, accurate, well-sourced data. Now, how do we present it? Journalists scan super fast. I make sure the key numbers jump out.
Yeah, it needs to be immediately digestible. The single biggest thing you can do here is formatting. Break down complex stuff into smaller, bite-sized pieces.
And if you have several stats,
use bullet points. Please use bullet points. Don't bury them in long, dense paragraphs nobody has time to read.
it's amazing how much difference that makes for just quickly grasping the key info. Seeing a list versus trying to extract numbers from a sentence.
Totally.
You can show, say, revenue up 47% YoY, retention hit 89%, market share grew from 12% to 18%, bang, bang, bang in seconds with bullets.
That speed is crucial. And it ties into being concise, too. You might have loads of data points, but throwing them all in just creates noise.
Information overload.
Right. Pick just the 3 to 5 most powerful stats that directly support your main point, and put the absolute strongest one right up top in the opening paragraph.
Grab their attention immediately.
Exactly. And remember white space? Let the numbers breathe. Don't crowd them. Give each important stat its own space to stand out.
But hang on, if I put the best stat right in the first sentence, isn't there a risk it feels a bit like clickbait? You know, a big number taken out of context.
That's a really fair point. And that's why clarity isn't just about bullets and white space. It's also about the language you use. Strategy 7 in our sources is all about using plain language for statistics.
Avoiding the jargon.
Yes. You'll lose your audience fast if you start throwing around terms like standard deviation or correlation coefficient without any explanation. The release needs to make sense to everyone, not just data analysts.
So translating the technical terms without losing the meaning. How do we do that effectively?
Think about tangible translations. Instead of increased by 100%, just say it doubled.
Simpler.
Way simpler. Instead of 25% of the sample population, say 1 in 4 people.
Got it.
And if you absolutely have to use a technical term like margin of error, explain it immediately, right there in parentheses.
Like margin of error, which means the result could vary by this much, is plus or minus 3 points.
Exactly like that. You keep the accuracy, but you make it instantly understandable for a much wider audience.
Okay, so the number is clear, it's easy to understand, but we can't just drop it and run, right? This brings us to strategy 3, context. A raw number doesn't mean much on its own.
This is where you answer that critical so what question. You absolutely have to explain what that 15% growth actually means. Is 15% amazing in your industry or just average?
That signals something changing.
Right. Is it a major shift? If you don't explain the significance, you're making the journalist do all the work to figure it out. And honestly, they probably won't bother.
So connect the dots for them. Link the data to the real world. It's about translation again.
Exactly. If your company cut customer wait times by 40%, don't just state the percentage. Translate it.
Right. Customers now wait an average of 3 minutes instead of 5 minutes for help.
Perfect. That's tangible. That means something to the reader. Or say a 25% jump in sales was the highest quarterly growth in your sector since 2019. Use that comparison.
So that frames it. Signals renewed confidence, maybe.
Precisely. That comparison turns a simple statistic into compelling evidence of something bigger.
And speaking of making things easier to grasp, visual aids come up a lot in these sources. They stress how visuals can turn complex numbers into stories people understand way faster than text.
Visuals are incredibly powerful, yes. But, and this is a big, but only if they're done right. A simple bar chart showing growth or a pie chart for market share, great, makes the point instantly, gives journalists something they can easily reuse. But if the visual is cluttered or confusingly labeled or the colors make no sense, it actually harms your message.
Yeah, I've seen those charts where you can't even figure out what the axes are supposed to represent.
Exactly. So the guidelines are crucial. Keep it simple. One clear message per graphic. Use consistent branding. Make sure any text in the graphic is readable, even if it gets shrunk down. And maybe the most important rule, visuals support the story. They don't replace it.
Right. You still need the words.
You absolutely still need the written content to explain the so what of that graphic. They have to work together.
Got it. Which leads us nicely into strategy 6, weaving the data into a compelling narrative. The stats shouldn't be the star of the show, should they? They're more like the crucial supporting actor.
That's a great way to put it. They're the unimpeachable evidence that proves your main claim is true.
So structure matters here.
Definitely. Think about a story arc. Maybe you start with a compelling problem or a human angle. Then you bring in the statistics to quantify that problem or to measure how well your solution worked.
Okay, so for a product launch.
Right. Maybe you mention the market need, then you hit them with that 73% customer satisfaction rate from beta testing. That number doesn't just sit there. It actively backs up your claim that the product is ready and people want it.
The stat strengthens the story.
Exactly. It's not the story. It strengthens it.
That structure makes sense, keeps people reading, while the numbers add that undeniable weight. And this brings us to what I think is maybe the most interesting part. Strategy 8. Trend analysis and insights. This sounds like the real secret weapon.
It kind of is. This is where you go beyond just reporting a single number and start identifying patterns, generating actual insights.
Okay, how so?
Well, spotting, say, a 40% rise in customer adoption over the last 6 months. That's not just a data point anymore. That's potentially a story about a market shift.
Or a change in what consumers want.
Exactly. That's the kind of thing that's truly newsworthy.
So we're shifting from just reporting something that's true to arguing that something is newsworthy. Is there a danger there of, interpreting too much, straying from the facts?
That's where specificity becomes absolutely critical. You stay factual by being precise about the time frame over the last 6 months. You point out which demographic groups might be driving that change. You note any external factors. And according to these sources, the most powerful insights often come from counterintuitive findings. Data that actually challenges what everyone in the industry thought was true.
Like finding out 73% of users love a feature that all the experts dismissed as unimportant.
Precisely. That kind of finding forces people to rethink. That's a real story.
Because it challenges assumptions.
Yes. You're not just confirming biases. You're revealing something unexpected, something that changes the conversation about your market. That kind of insight gets attention.
Wow, okay. This has been a really practical, focused look at how to actually make data work in press releases. Let's maybe just quickly recap those core principles one last time for everyone listening.
Sounds good. So to really transform your communications with data, remember these 4 things. First, relevance over volume. Pick data that directly proves your specific point.
Got it.
Second, clarity beats complexity. Use simple language, clear formatting like bullet points. Avoid that dense jargon. Third, context creates meaning. Always explain the so what. Translate the numbers into tangible, practical terms.
Right.
And finally, credibility builds trust. Always cite reputable sources clearly and make it easy for people to verify your claims.
So data-driven storytelling isn't really optional anymore, is it? It feels like a necessity to cut through all the noise out there.
It really is.
When you get that combination, right, accurate stats, clear presentation, solid sourcing, good context, you create releases that actually stand out, get noticed, and lead to, well, meaningful coverage.
And the sources kept pointing back to this idea. Challenging assumptions is often the biggest hook. So maybe here's a final thought for you listening. Instead of just digging for data to confirm what you already believe about your business or market, what if you deliberately used data analysis to hunt for a truly counterintuitive finding, something that genuinely surprises people, something that could shift the whole perspective in your field?
That's a fascinating challenge.
Give that some thought next time you're looking at a spreadsheet. You might uncover your most powerful story yet.